Right. Let's kick off this deep dive. We're all about helping you get closer to your best year ever. We're going to be exploring Michael Hyatt's book, Your Best Year Ever. And we're pulling out some seriously actionable advice so you can make this year truly remarkable. You always mention wanting like clear strategies, not just the feel-good inspiration.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what Hyatt delivers, right?
Yeah. No, he's all about the practical stuff, turning those big dreams into concrete steps. He really has like a proven system for making things happen.
He does. And what's interesting is he starts with a captivating story about a dog
Okay.
named Nelson,
Okay.
who constantly trying to escape his yard. So his owners installed an invisible fence,
Oh, yeah.
which, worked great. But then something really interesting happened. Nelson eventually just stopped trying to cross that boundary, even after the physical fence was removed.
Oh, wow.
What do you make of that?
It's a great example of how our beliefs, even if they're not based in reality, can actually shape our actions.
Mm.
It's like that invisible fence. It became a mental barrier for Nelson,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And we humans do this all the time. We set up all these invisible fences in our own lives
They do.
that limit us.
It's like that time I almost turned down this huge opportunity early in my career because I was like, I'm too young for this.
Oh, wow.
Looking back, it's ridiculous. But that limiting belief, it felt so real at the time.
Right. And we often hold ourselves back before we even start.
Mm-hmm.
And Hyatt, he really digs into this whole concept of limiting beliefs.
Mm.
And he distinguishes between, he calls a fixed mindset, where you think your abilities are just set in stone,
Yeah.
versus a growth mindset, where you believe you can always learn and grow.
Mm.
And those with the growth mindset, he refers to them as like incremental theorists.
Yeah.
They're the ones who consistently achieve their goals.
Mm. Yeah. It reminds me of that story of Steve Mura, the baseball pitcher, who struggled to win on this particular mound
Yeah.
because he just believed it was angled against him.
Yeah.
And he was so stuck in that fixed mindset. And his coach, Harvey Dorfman, helped him realize that past performance doesn't dictate future potential.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Once he shifted that belief,
Yeah.
he developed new strategies and almost pitched a perfect game on that very mound.
That is powerful.
It's amazing.
Yeah. A powerful example of how, our beliefs can either limit us or liberate us.
Mm-hmm.
And the exciting part is we have the power to choose.
That's right.
And Hyatt goes on to explain how we can actually identify
Yeah.
and upgrade those beliefs, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving from dogs and baseball
Okay.
to a little bit broader concept,
Okay.
Hyatt introduces this idea of scarcity versus abundance thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And he presents these two characters, Charlie, who embodies scarcity,
Okay.
and Robert, who embodies abundance.
Okay. How does this framework kind of play out in real life?
Well, it's a brilliant way to understand how we approach opportunities and challenges, right?
Mhm.
So Charlie, with his scarcity mindset, he hoards resources, he fears competition, he's constantly worried about not having enough, versus Robert, who's more generous,
Yeah.
he's collaborative, he sees potential for everyone to succeed.
Yeah. Do you think all the constant negativity that we're bombarded with in the media, doom scrolling on social media, the 24/7 news cycle,
Mhm.
does that reinforce the scarcity mindset?
Oh, absolutely. We have to be so mindful of the information we consume
Mm-hmm.
and the people that we surround ourselves with. Because, if we're constantly exposed to that negativity and scarcity thinking, it's going to seep into our own beliefs
Totally.
versus, spending time with people like Robert,
Right.
who are more positive and uplifting. That can have such a profound impact on our perspective. Absolutely. And Hyatt actually outlines this really helpful system for replacing those limiting beliefs with empowering ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more than just positive thinking. It's about identifying the specific beliefs that are holding you back
Right.
and consciously choosing to replace them with something more constructive.
Exactly. It's about becoming aware of those stories we tell ourselves and actively rewriting those narratives
Yeah,
so they support our goals. Like he uses a great example of Alcoholics Anonymous,
right.
where members replace that belief, I can't resist a drink, with the more empowering belief, change is possible.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental shift in thinking.
It is. Another powerful example is Erin Gruwell, the teacher who inspired the Freedom Writer's Diary.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone had labeled her students as at risk, but she saw their potential, and she actually created this whole system for them to succeed. And many of them went on to college. Some even became teachers themselves.
Wow. That's amazing.
It is.
That's so inspiring.
It is, and it shows the power of believing not only in ourselves, but also in others. She didn't let limited resources stop her.
Right.
She even got a second job to buy the books that her students needed.
Wow.
Yeah. And it kind of challenges us to ask, like, what's not in my world right now that could be, that must be there?
Right.
It's about envisioning those possibilities and then taking action to make them real.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into the exciting part of setting goals, Hyatt really emphasizes the importance of what he calls completing the past.
Okay.
Why is that so crucial?
Well, we can't truly move forward if we're still carrying the weight of past disappointments,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's like trying to run a race with a backpack full of rocks.
Yeah. I imagine it like Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite,
Okay.
constantly reliving that missed football pass. He's just stuck in the past, unable to move on.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced something like that?
Definitely early in my career, I got fired after I secured this major deal for a client.
Well,
And, at the time, it felt like a complete failure. It was
yeah,
just devastating.
I can only imagine. So how did you manage to move forward from that?
Well, it forced me to adopt what Hyatt calls a backward thinking approach.
Okay.
I had to analyze what went wrong, what I could have done differently, and extract those lessons from that experience. It was tough, but ultimately it helped me avoid making the same mistakes in the future.
That's good. That's good. This is where Hyatt introduces the after-action review, a technique that, the military uses to analyze performance. And it's really about honestly evaluating what happened, both the good and the bad, and identifying those key insights to improve future performance.
Right, and one of the most valuable questions in that process is, what are the recurring themes from this past year? It helps us uncover those patterns in our experiences and identify the areas where we can make the most significant changes.
That's good. So we've covered the power of beliefs, the importance of an abundance mindset, the need to let go of the past. But what about regret?
Okay.
Hyatt suggests this kind of surprising connection between regret and future opportunities.
Yeah, he introduces what he calls the opportunity principle, which states that we feel the most regret when we actually have the greatest chance to improve a situation.
That's so counterintuitive.
Right.
Yeah,
It's kind of crazy,
it is.
but it's true.
Yeah. So instead of dwelling on that regret, we can actually use it as a compass to point us towards areas where we have the most potential for growth.
Right.
He uses the example of like tattoo regret versus career regret.
Exactly. Tattoo regret, it's common, but it's hard to fix,
Yeah.
right? Versus career regret often motivates us to make a positive change.
Absolutely. Now, before we dive into goal setting, Hyatt introduces another powerful concept, gratitude.
Okay.
And he doesn't present it as just this, feel-good practice, but as a tool for actually achieving our goals.
Yeah. He talks about cultivating that mindset of abundance, which we talked about earlier. And it was not just about being thankful for what we have, although that's important. It's about using that appreciation as fuel
Yeah.
to achieve even more.
He highlights that story of Coach K
Oh, yeah.
and the Duke basketball team who wrote the names of people they were grateful for on a basketball
Right.
before their championship run.
Yeah. It's about recognizing the support we have, and acknowledging the good in our lives. And, gratitude has just these incredible benefits, increased optimism, reduced envy, improved patience.
Yeah.
It all contributes to a more resilient mindset, which is crucial when pursuing big goals.
Absolutely. He even talks about the gratitude advantage, this idea that gratitude can actually boost our ability to achieve our goals.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He shares research showing that people who practice gratitude regularly are more likely to achieve their goals. It's not about being complacent,
Right.
but about using that sense of appreciation, abundance, as motivation to push ourselves further. Okay. We've laid the groundwork, we've upgraded our beliefs, completed the past, and tapped into the power of gratitude.
Yep.
Now it's time to set those goals.
Right.
Hyatt expands that familiar SMART goal framework into what he calls smarter goals,
Yeah.
which are designed to be even more effective.
Right.
Can you break down for us what makes a goal smarter?
Of course. So smarter goals are specific, measurable, actionable, risky, time-keyed, exciting, and relevant. And each element is critical for setting ourselves up for success.
All right, I'm ready to dive into each of those elements.
Yeah.
I'm especially curious about that risky aspect. It seems counterintuitive to intentionally set risky goals,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting, and we'll explore that in detail
Yeah.
in part 2 of our deep dive.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
All right, welcome back. We left off on kind of a cliffhanger there, ready to unpack Hyatt's smarter goal framework. And I'm especially intrigued by, this idea of setting risky goals. What exactly does that mean?
Well, it's about pushing beyond our comfort zones, right? And aiming for something that stretches our capabilities. Hyatt challenges us to kind of reconsider setting solely realistic goals.
Yeah.
Because, if we're only focusing on what seems easily achievable, we're likely to limit our potential.
So how do we strike a balance between risky and achievable?
Right.
Like, what are some strategies for identifying those goals that challenge us without setting us up for failure?
Yeah. Hyatt provides this really helpful visual in the book. He contrasts the comfort zone with the discomfort zone and then the delusional zone,
Okay.
right? So risky goals should reside in that discomfort zone, where we're pushing ourselves but still believe that achievement is possible. It's about finding that sweet spot between playing it safe and chasing totally unrealistic dreams.
He uses a great analogy, of someone who quits their job to launch their own business.
Right.
It's a risky move for sure,
Yes.
but it also has the potential for immense growth and fulfillment. So that brings us to the 7th element of the SMARTER framework, which is relevant.
Right.
How does that fit in?
Yeah, relevant goals align with our values, our current life circumstances, and our long-term aspirations. It's about ensuring that our goals actually serve us and move us in the desired direction. A goal might seem exciting on the surface, but if it doesn't truly align with our values, it's likely to lead to frustration down the road.
He uses the example of General Motors setting a market share goal of 29%,
Right.
which, it was ambitious, but their strategies to achieve it were ultimately irrelevant to their long-term sustainability,
Yeah.
and it actually ended up hurting them.
Right. It's a cautionary tale about, focusing on numbers without considering the bigger picture. Our goals should align with our overall purpose and make sense within our lives. Now let's dive into the other elements of smarter goals.
Okay.
Starting with specific. What does that mean in practice?
It seems like it's about, moving from those vague desires to concrete targets.
Yeah.
Like instead of saying, I want to get healthier,
Right.
a specific goal would be, I want to lose 10 pounds by July 1st.
Exactly. Specificity is about clarity and focus. It eliminates ambiguity and helps us direct our energy effectively. Next, we have measurable.
Oh,
Why is that important?
well, it's like having those mile markers on a road trip.
Right.
It lets us track our progress, see how far we've come, and kind of gauge how much further we need to go.
You got it. Measurable goals allow us to monitor our progress and stay accountable. Instead of just saying, I want to read more books, a measurable goal would be, I want to read 2 books every month. That way, we can easily track whether we're on pace to achieve our goal.
Actionable seems pretty straightforward. It means our goal is something we can actually take steps toward, right?
Absolutely. It's about turning intention into action. Instead of just saying, I want to be more confident, an actionable goal might be, I will join Toastmasters and give 1 speech every month. It's about breaking down the goal into those concrete steps that we can start implementing right away. Now, time keyed seems equally important.
Yeah.
Why are deadlines so crucial?
It's about moving from someday to by this date. Deadlines create a sense of urgency and help us prioritize our efforts.
Precisely. Time-keyed goals provide that extra push we often need to stay focused and avoid procrastination. Without a deadline, it's easy to let goals slide into the background and never really get started. Finally, we have exciting,
Okay.
which seems, more about feeling than strategy.
Right.
Why is that important?
I think it's about tapping into our intrinsic motivation, right?
Yeah.
If a goal doesn't excite us, we're less likely to stick with it when things get challenging.
You nailed it. Exciting goals, they fuel our passion and they keep us engaged. Hyatt challenges us to ask, does this goal make my heart beat faster? And if the answer is no, it might be time to revisit the goal or find a way to frame it.
Yeah.
So it genuinely excites us.
I love that. Okay, so we've got a solid understanding of that SMARTER framework now. We know how to set those goals. But what about staying motivated when we inevitably hit those roadblocks and want to give up?
Right.
Hyatt talks about, finding our why. How does that play into achieving our goals?
Oh, it's It's the key to sustaining motivation. When we're facing challenges, setbacks, it's easy to lose sight of why we started in the first place. Connecting with our why provides that deeper sense of purpose that keeps us going when we want to quit.
He debunks that whole myth that achieving goals should be fun, fast, and easy.
Absolutely. Real growth takes effort, patience, and resilience. It's about understanding that the journey won't always be smooth sailing. And having a strong why helps us weather those storms.
Yeah, he shares a personal story about hitting a wall while writing his book platform. And, he was ready to quit, but reconnecting with his why gave him the motivation to push through and finish the book, which went on to become a New York Times bestseller.
It's a great reminder that everyone, even the most successful people, experience those moments of doubt.
Yeah.
What separates those who achieve their goals from those who don't is often that deeper sense of purpose that keeps them going. So how do we go about connecting with our why? What are some practical steps we can take?
Yeah, Hyatt recommends actually writing down our motivations for each goal, not just the logical reasons,
Right.
but also the emotional ones. And he says we need to really connect with those feelings.
Exactly. It's about asking ourselves, what will I gain by achieving this goal?
Yeah.
How will it improve my life or the lives of others? What's at stake if I don't achieve it?
He uses the example of, getting healthier.
Mm-hmm.
We all know the logical benefits. Increased energy, reduced risk of disease. But what are the emotional drivers? Maybe it's being able to keep up with your kids.
Right.
Or feeling more confident in your own skin.
Exactly. It's about getting specific and personal with our motivations.
Yeah.
He even suggests ranking our top 3 motivations for each goal so we can easily access them when we need a boost.
That's great. So we've set our smarter goals,
Okay.
connected with our why. We're feeling motivated and ready to take action. What's next?
Now we need a system for actually translating those goals into consistent actions. And this is where Hyatt introduces this concept of action triggers, which are these pre-planned responses designed to overcome obstacles and trigger that desired behavior.
You mentioned that example of setting out your gym clothes the night before to make it easier to work out in the morning. That's an action trigger, right?
Exactly. It's about anticipating those moments of resistance
Right.
and having a plan in place to overcome them. And it's a strategy that's actually backed by research. Studies show that implementation intentions, which are very similar to action triggers, significantly increase the likelihood of achieving goals.
So it's about removing that decision-making in those moments of weakness.
Yeah.
Those times when our willpower is low.
Right. When we're tired, stressed, facing other distractions, it's much harder to rely on willpower alone.
Yeah.
Action triggers take the decision out of the equation and automate our response.
Yeah.
Instead of having to decide in the moment, we've already determined what we're going to do.
It's like taking control of our environment and our behavior
Right.
to make it easier to stick to our goals.
Exactly. It's a proactive approach that significantly increases our chances of success. Hyatt actually outlines a 4-phase process for creating and optimizing these action triggers.
Can you walk us through those phases? Certainly. So the first phase is brainstorming potential triggers. Let's say your goal is to write for an hour every morning.
Okay.
What's an action trigger that could help you achieve that?
Maybe setting an alarm on your phone for 5:30 a.m.
Right.
that says time to write.
Yeah.
Or placing your laptop and a cup of coffee on your desk the night before.
Exactly. The key is to find triggers that resonate with you and align with your specific goals. Then in phase 2, we optimize those triggers. We ask ourselves questions like, when am I most productive? What time of day am I most likely to follow through with this action?
So we're refining those triggers to make them even more effective.
Right. In phase 3, we anticipate potential obstacles and predetermine our responses. For example, if your goal is to, leave work by 6:00 p.m. each night.
Okay.
But you're often pulled into those last-minute meetings.
Yeah.
Your action trigger might be, setting an alarm on your phone for 5:45 that says, wrap it up.
Or, blocking that time off in your calendar.
Yeah.
So we're proactively identifying roadblocks and planning how to navigate them.
Exactly.
Finally, phase 4 is all about experimentation. It's recognizing that not all action triggers are going to work perfectly right away. We need to be willing to adjust, tweak, and try different approaches until we find what works best for us.
So it's a process of trial and error, refining that strategy till we nail it.
Precisely. The key is to stay flexible and keep iterating. Remember, the goal remains constant, but our strategy for achieving it can evolve.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. beliefs, abundance thinking, completing the past, the power of regret, the importance of gratitude, setting smarter goals, connecting with our why, and using action triggers to turn those goals into action. What else is crucial for achieving our best year ever?
Well, next we need to ensure we're staying on track
Okay.
and monitoring our progress. And Hyatt dedicates a whole chapter to this importance of visibility, which
Yeah.
is all about having systems in place to track our progress and make adjustments when needed.
He begins the chapter with that story about General Jimmy Doolittle,
Oh,
the pioneering aviator who was the first to fly across the country in less than 24 hours.
yeah. And he did it by relying on instruments rather than just, flying by the seat of his pants.
Right.
Which was a risky move at the time because, flying with instruments was this new concept.
Right.
But it allowed him to navigate safely, even in challenging conditions.
So he's drawing this parallel between flying blind and pursuing our goals without a way to track our progress.
Exactly. Without a system for monitoring our progress, we're essentially flying blind, hoping we'll reach our destination. Without a way to course correct, when we inevitably veer off track.
Right, right. Hyatt emphasizes the importance of regular reviews, both daily and weekly, to maintain that visibility and make those necessary adjustments.
Yes. These reviews are crucial for maintaining momentum.
Yeah.
And staying aligned with our goals. So the daily review is this quick check-in, taking just a few minutes to review your progress and adjust your schedule if needed.
Right.
Versus the weekly review, which is more in-depth. It's a time to kind of reflect on that bigger picture, reconnect with your why, and plan for the week ahead.
He uses a great analogy about restoring a classic Volkswagen Beetle
Oh, yeah.
for your daughter's 16th birthday.
Yeah.
And he kind of breaks down how those weekly reviews can help you stay on track with a seemingly overwhelming task like that.
It's a great example of how to break down a large goal into those manageable steps and ensure that those steps are aligned with your overall timeline. It's also about recognizing that, things don't always go according to plan.
He emphasizes the importance of staying flexible, right?
Yes.
Our strategies can change, but the goal
A goal
remains our guiding principle.
Exactly. Those regular reviews, they help us stay focused on that end goal while also being adaptable to the inevitable challenges and changes that arise along the way.
Okay, so we've got our goals set.
Okay.
We got our action triggers in place. Our review process is humming along. What about the role of other people in achieving our best year ever?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Hyatt dedicates a whole chapter to leveraging your network and emphasizes the importance of surrounding ourselves with the right people.
It's so crucial. He starts with that inspiring story of J.R.R. Tolkien
Okay.
and C.S. Lewis, whose friendship actually played a significant role in Tolkien completing The Lord of the Rings. It took Tolkien almost 2 decades
Wow.
to write that epic trilogy.
Yeah.
And he faced many, many moments of doubt along the way. But, Lewis's unwavering support and encouragement kept him going.
It's a beautiful example of the power of supportive relationships, especially when pursuing ambitious goals that kind of push us beyond those comfort zones.
Absolutely. And it's not just about having cheerleaders on the sidelines, though, right? It's about finding people who challenge us, who hold us accountable and offer diverse perspectives that can help us grow. But, Hyatt also offers this word of caution, referencing Derek Sivers' TED Talk about why we should sometimes keep our goals to ourselves.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, that TED Talk is so fascinating. Sievers suggests that broadcasting our goals can actually decrease our motivation because our brains kind of get that premature sense of satisfaction,
Right.
as if we've already accomplished the goal.
Right.
So how do we balance that with the need for support and accountability?
Yeah, it's about being strategic.
Yeah.
With who we share our goals with. Instead of announcing them to the world, we should focus on cultivating that supportive inner circle. Right. These are people who genuinely believe in us, who will offer that encouragement when we're struggling
Right.
and celebrate our wins along the way.
Yeah, it makes sense to be selective. So who should we be looking for in our network? What types of support are most helpful?
Well, it depends on your personality and your goals, really. Hyatt highlights various supportive groups, online communities, masterminds, mentoring circles, close friends. The key is to find people who provide the type of support you need, whether it's encouragement, accountability, or fresh perspectives.
Okay, so we need to be mindful of who we share our goals with and seek out those who will genuinely support our journey.
Mm-hmm.
Circling back to visibility, you mentioned that Hyatt is a fan of the Full Focus Planner. Are there other tools or systems that can help us track our progress?
Oh, absolutely. The Full Focus Planner is a great tool, but it's not the only option. The most important thing is finding a system that works for you, something you'll consistently use. It could be as simple as a notebook, a digital task manager, a spreadsheet, or even a combination of tools.
Mm.
The key is having a system that helps you stay organized, focused, and accountable.
It's about having that system
Yeah,
that helps you stay organized, focused, and accountable.
exactly. And it should align with your personal preferences and work style. Some people prefer a highly structured system, while others prefer a more flexible approach.
Right, right. Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into your best year ever, what are some key takeaways listeners can start implementing today?
Well, I think it all starts with those beliefs,
Mm.
right? Identify and challenge those limiting beliefs that are holding you back
Mm.
and consciously replace them with more empowering ones.
Mm-hmm.
Cultivate that mindset of abundance, embrace gratitude, set those smarter goals that excite and inspire you.
Mm.
Connect with your why. Establish those action triggers to turn those goals into consistent actions. And find a system for tracking your progress and making adjustments along the way. And remember, surround yourself with that supportive network of people who believe in your potential.
Absolutely. It's been a fantastic journey through Michael Hyatt's strategies for achieving our best year ever.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground, from upgrading our beliefs to leveraging our networks. We've unpacked, powerful tools like the Smarter Goal Framework, the After Action Review, action triggers, so much good stuff.
It has. It's been a pleasure exploring these concepts with you.
Likewise, likewise.
And remember, knowledge is only valuable if we apply it.
Absolutely. So I challenge each of you listening to take action today. What's one limiting belief you're going to replace with a liberating truth? And what's one action trigger you can implement right now to move you closer to your most important goal? Don't let those dreams stay dreams. Start taking those steps and watch as this year unfolds into your best one yet.